Our next speaker, Senator Bob Hartwell, is a retired attorney and has previously served 4 terms in the Vermont State Senate. He and his wife, we're lucky to know, now live in Winston-Salem. So we'd like for you to tell us how the government is supposed to work, how it is currently functioning, and what Senator Budd needs to know. Thank you. That's right, that's right.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank all of you. It's a little aside, I didn't expect this, but I want to tell a very brief story, and it has to do with Mr. Potter. When I was in the legislature, we got into a fight over home care services. I thought it was a completely ridiculous struggle over saving money. And those types of programs are the ones that are easy to attack, even though they're less expensive. It's very perverse, but it seems to happen all the time. And this is a problem that Senator Budd has right now. Attacking the programs that do the most and actually cost the least. And it just continues to happen. So I wanted you to know we fought that out, and I'm proud that at the battle that occurred when I was there, we won that one. I want to ask Senator Budd to look at his oath. There's some language in the oath, and I took this oath 4 times. The language says that you shall serve, and it talks about the Constitution, of course, but it says, I will take the obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. I've always wondered about that language. It's in oaths in this country a lot. What is his mental, I'm not talking about his mental state perhaps, but I'm talking about what is his reservation that causes him, as has been pointed out by the moderator, not to have one of these in 8 years. What is it that does the word evasion mean in an oath? To me, it means you're evading. You're not there. And I think that this is a major problem with him and some of his colleagues. And one of the effects of this is that the Constitution, in the beginning, creates 3 co-equal branches of government, as we know. One of them is the legislature, and Senator Budd and Senator Tillis and some of the others are carrying on in a way that causes me to say that it's not really 3 co-equal branches anymore. It's 2.5. And the legislature's the half. And that's what's happening because they're not standing up to the administration. They're supposed to be overseeing the agencies, and they're not doing it. And this is why things appear to be getting out of control, or at least in part. So I would ask him to take a look at that language and someday show up and talk about that language and how he thinks it affects him. There's language that actually is in the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights. It's the amendment that actually prohibits the establishment of state religion. But there's language in there that establishes the right of the citizens to peacefully assemble, gather, appear, and ask for redress of their grievances. Well, if you think about it, that's what's going on here. And it's gone on and went on in Greensboro and goes on all over the place. And the senator's not there. I look at I don't see, I haven't seen him. Yeah, he's not there. Yeah. And that's a pretty serious assault, in a sense, on all of us, that all these people come together, and he's never there. Now, specifically with respect to constituents, this is a little bit of a rehash, but these are constituents. He is supposed to be addressing constituents. It's actually read the First Amendment about the right of free assembly. It's not the right of a senator to say, well, I like some of these people, so I'll go see them. I don't know, I heard about the sheriff's office several times. You go to see people, you're not sure what they're going to do. But the one thing I can say to Senator Budd, and you ought to know this, they all ought to know this, I haven't seen any violence, any nonsense whatsoever in any of these demonstrations. And I've been to these demonstrations. So you'll see that language in the First Amendment, and we don't have enough time to do the whole Constitution. That'll take a year. But it really is important how much activity there is out there, how many demonstrations in virtually every state, and he's not there. I know senators, including a couple I know, like I know Bernie Sanders because we're from the same state originally. He's out there. He's out there. He stands right in the crowd. He's not afraid. Now I want to get to the key portion, and this is not a whole lot on the Constitution, but it's enough maybe in 6 minutes. That's not brilliant. And that is due process of law. That is what is going on right now. And due process of law actually appears most importantly in the Fifth Amendment, which is the one that has the language against self-incrimination. It has the language about not being tried for the same crime twice. At the end, it talks about the government cannot take away your life, your liberty, or your property without due process. So what is due process? And I wanted to refer to a particular case you may have heard of, and if there are any criminal defense lawyers in the room, they'll know. The case is called Miranda versus Arizona. This was the case, and anybody who knows about this case knows that Ernesto Miranda was not a nice guy, but he was arrested by Arizona police and charged with serious crimes. What happened after that was the interrogation. There was no one around except the police. He managed, or his lawyer, when he finally got one, I guess, managed to get the U.S. Supreme Court to vacate the conviction. But what came out of that decision is absolutely critical. It defined what due process of law is. It says you have a right to remain silent. You have a right, even if the interrogation is strident, you have a right to stop it. You have a right to counsel. And if you can't afford it, it will be provided. And those rights are the platform that gets these people into court so that they can present witnesses and evidence. A person snatched off a Massachusetts street and sent to Louisiana had none of that. Garcia had none. We don't even know if he's the right guy. And the administration doesn't want to bring it back up because it'd rather entertain the El Salvador president at Mar-a-Lago. So, and it doesn't, it's a flagrant violation. It's very clear, I think, what the standards are. It does not include breaking into a car and hollering for Antonio, only to find there's no Antonio in the car. It is a flagrant set of circumstances right now, but the rule is clear. And the day before yesterday, the Supreme Court issued an order, not an opinion, not a decision. A 7-2 decision, which included all 3 Trump appointees, stopping the government from deporting the Venezuelans that were detained in Texas. That is a seriously important order. And I'll get toward the end of this, but it is my hope that that order is going to result in another order as to how these cases are going to be handled in connection with the due process standards that go all the way back to Mr. Bad Guy Miranda. And so that's absolutely important. They're going to do something. And it is my sense, I'm not there, I've never been inside the building, that the Chief Justice and some of the others are getting to be very concerned about what's going on. Not only about what's going on, but how it can tarnish the reputation of the Supreme Court. They're starting to get nervous, so they're starting to think about it. And I think that may be progress. I hope it is. I wanted to, my time is up, it's red.
Finish your vote. Finish it. Go for it.
Okay, thank you. I got a slight reprieve. Thank you, that's it. See how far we can stretch that. So, but I really want to emphasize this thing because this business about the due process clause, because it's not mysterious anymore. It's maybe mysterious to the White House right now, but that's why the judicial process, by the way, is so critical. The courts are really getting tough on a lot of this, and they should. And I think you watch what the Supreme Court does. Maybe they'll disappoint us. I don't know, but it's pretty clear what they're looking at. It's pretty clear what they're looking at. So with that, I'll close. And one other thought about Miranda. He wasn't a nice guy, but that wasn't the point. There are nice guys who were in the same position, and the same things happened for years until it stopped, until it reached the Supreme Court. So it applies to all of us. And by the way, all of this language is in the decisions, and it's in the Constitution itself. Everybody has these little, and those how they're all this size, you can kind of, So it's very clear language. It doesn't ask, well, where was he from, or what state did he live in last, or did he travel outside the country, or does he have a criminal record or not, or is a she or not? They don't ask that. None of that's in here. So I think it's going to be interesting to watch what happens. So that's my view, and I'm going to, by the way, I asked Mr. Budd about his oath. Now I'm going to ask him about due process of law, because he is seriously confused about that, in my view.